Hello everybody! This is another weekend of the Mania 4K World Cup. All the round of 16 matches have concluded and we are getting ready for the quarterfinals, which is the next round, which will be played next week by the remaining 24 teams. And it's going to be very exciting, but we need to do something first. We need to show these players and all of you guys the map pool. My name is Mint. I'm joined here once again with Sunapple. How are you doing?
Hello, hello, hello. I am here once again. I'm super excited. I think this is like the halfway point, right, of MWC.
Yeah,
Like it's super exciting. It's been what, like 4 weeks at this point of just constantly playing, and I'm seeing so many good scores for the past 4 weeks. It's really nice.
Woo! It's gonna be. This one's rough, right? I mean, we both know these players can handle this sort of stuff, but this pool is rough. What do you think? Like, thoughts before we show them all the...
Yeah, I definitely agree. Honestly, I feel like some of the maps are even like harder than semis last year, like maybe half a round harder than semis last year, and it's gonna be interesting for some of these players, especially for
honestly,
the top teams.
you're right. I think that, like, I would say particularly some of the hybrids, maybe some of the LNs are definitely above semis, but I would say it's around the same as semis last year. Yeah, well, let's not dilly-dally let's just get right into it with Rice 1. Gypsophila by Mysterion, 1.1 diff. This is an edited version for those of you who are familiar with the original upload. This is significantly buffed. And I mean significantly, this is so much harder than the older version. So yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, that is definitely true. And the first thing that you will notice if you have played this map before is that the intro that just played, it is cut. And honestly, that one of the problems for me with this map was that this intro was so long. But now that's gone, and it should be a lot more fun to play. And I'm hoping that other players will be really happy to be able to play this map.
Yeah, and as you notice, we're already coming out with really strong 332 BPM streams. And these are really, really difficult, but they are fairly rolly. You'll see some embedded mini jacks within later in the second half, which does make it a little bit hard in the second half. So it does get a little bit more risky. It does introduce those like embedded mini jacks in these streams, which will carry on into the later picks, especially like semifinals and finals, and then grand finals. Obviously, we'll have a lot of those. But yeah, this is, I guess, your intro to that. Yeah, you get a little bit of a break here. You start to see those implicit mini jacks there, right there, as you saw.
Yeah, and something else that I would like to talk about is that how similar, I guess, this is to Come Inside My Heart from last round. However, I feel like these streams go on for quite a bit longer than what Come Inside My Heart had, because it really had... Come Inside My Heart had really like 3 sections of streams, where I feel like this one has more like 2 really long sections where they're kind of endless, it can feel like. Yeah,
and a lot of people are noticing that this song is the same song as was in round of 32 last year. However, that was an SV map, which is completely different, and also is an upgrade. It's a completely different map. So, well, that map is pretty short, honestly. Like the first break goes on for like 30 seconds. So honestly, this map really only has like 2 minutes of difficulty at most. So this one's gonna be really short. I guess we're gonna go into Rise 2, and we have Cosmo Station by Blessia. Blessia's first time in MWC. They actually made this specially for us. Thank you so much to Blessia, and also to Sudden Death, who helped us coordinate with Blessia to make this happen. So this is 247 BPM jump streams. These are really, really difficult patterns. Also, you can see the hands thrown in here. So we're already kind of getting into almost like dense jump stream. Yeah. Any comments on that, Sunapple?
I mean, I just want to point out that anchor that is like kind of, or that is constantly present, I guess, whenever you are playing this map, and that can be kind of brutal, especially if you focus on it too much. I know that's something that I do a lot on anchors, where I kind of focus a bit too much on the anchors, and then as a result, the the streams really kind of get messed up, and misreads happen every so often. But I do want to say that if you are familiar with Blessia's patterning, which as of recently has been a lot more popular, especially just because Blessia has been getting really well known in the community. If you are familiar with the patterning, I would say that you're generally comfortable with this kind of map.
Yeah, and honestly, like, these patterns are actually surprisingly comfortable, like, for 247 BPM. I would say that this is definitely squarely easier than the Amen Katagiri Generation Qualifier, which was the Stage 7 qualifier. Never mind that. That was 250 BPM, and the patterns, I would say, were easier, but the transitions were a lot more difficult, so that was a lot more difficult to keep your toes up, you know. But this one I would say it's pretty straightforward, very trilly, very anchory, but it's fairly comfortable, and you would be kind of surprised given how the patterns look versus how they feel. It's very, very comfortable to me.
Yeah, and I do just want to point out how that basically most of the first half is kind of unbroken streams, so this map is 3 minutes long, so that's like a minute and a half or something of unbroken streams that you'll have to continually play after everything else that you may have already played, so something to keep into account whenever you're thinking about maybe picking this map, maybe practicing this map for anything, really.
Yeah. And honestly, there's not really much to say. This is like, it clocks in at 3:18, which is longer than the previous map. Was it? I think
it is. I think
but
the previous map was 3 minutes exactly.
It's still shorter than Little God Channel. But it does feel a lot more heavy in terms of stamina, so it's definitely like, that's something to watch out for sure.
Yeah, and we are approaching the end. I would suspect, as we have been seeing, this map generally gets higher scores, but that doesn't really mean that it's necessarily easier. It just means that people are, I guess, more comfortable with this kind of speed.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we wrap up with that pick, we are getting right into a song you may all know and a new mapper, but this is Chordjax, Edison by Miaori Chesu, 1.1. This one's interesting. How about you start us off, Mappool?
I mean, this is Chordjax. There's a lot that you could say really for Chordjax. This is 146, so it's a bit of a step up from last pool. However, I feel like the density on this map is a bit denser than what we saw in last map's pool and Liftoff, and we're already seeing that right now. There's a lot more triples, there's a lot more doubles, as well as, I guess, like 3-note anchors that you'll constantly see, and I guess more long stats of jacks.
Yeah, and honestly, I will say like this map, I mean, if we're all familiar with the structure of the song, I would assume, so it kind of goes like back and forth with like very intense moments, and then it backs off very calm sections, so you get a lot of breaks. It's a lot of breaks here. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much, I mean, I don't really know, like, there's not really much. I will say this map, according to our replayer, is easier to ratio than Liftoff, which I don't know if I can agree with that yet. We'll have to see. We'll definitely have to see, but that is something that I will have to know. That is something that we were told from the replayer.
Yeah, I mean, easier ratio doesn't always mean it doesn't always mean that you will get consistent scores, because, you know, there can be a lot of issues that can happen, and especially being able to, like, go in and out of these patterning, because there's a lot of breaks, and sometimes that can trip people up every so often, but I'm hoping that like, most people don't 9999, like we have been saying with Liftoff in this round, honestly.
Yeah, I feel like we're still gonna see quite a few 999s with this, but it is physically harder for sure. There's only a 4 BPM increase, but the density is significantly higher, and we'll see that trend continue into semifinals, and I think semifinals is where the density kind of caps. No, finals, but you'll see. But yeah, core jacks. We love our core jacks. I would say we love our core jacks very much. And thank you for the mapper for letting us use this map. And yeah, let's keep going.
Yep, and the next map. Oh, you can go.
Yep, this is Break the Silence by Darkstar. I'm sure many of you will be familiar with this if you have played FFR. This is a 101 difficulty. Okay. I don't know where to start with this map. I love this map a lot. It's really, really fun to play. I don't know. Like it's very enjoyable to me. And it's a lot of these bursts, a lot of these mini jacks. Very mixed bag, really. Those mini jacks right there were really, really fast. Faster than 1/4, I think. Like probably 1/6. So yeah, we're getting into tech basically. It's gonna be like a speed mini jack tech.
Yeah, this is definitely tech if I've ever seen it, and this is at OD 8.3, so can be a bit difficult to get good accuracy on. I mean, this is, I guess, what it looks like to be a step down in terms of OD. However, that doesn't mean it's necessarily easier, especially considering the patterning on this is a lot more difficult and a lot more awkward, and it has a lot of a wide variety of snappings to everything, basically.
Yeah, this map really just throws everything at you, honestly. And we do give you a break section here, which I think is not present in the FFR map, so you won't find this section in the FFR map. But yeah, you do get a short break here.
Yeah, but with that being said, really, you kind of are going to need this break, since this map is 3 minutes and 20 seconds, so it is a gauntlet. It is a long map, I guess, in terms of actually being able to play it through and through and being able to get a really good score. You will need really good consistency throughout just this entirety of it.
Yeah, as we get into this chorus section, I guess honestly, I would say this map is pretty front-loaded. That you find a lot less mini jacks in this back half here. You do still see some, but it's definitely more of a consistency test at this back half rather than anything else. Honestly, like, you're still gonna get some patterns that will definitely trip players up. Like, the mini jacks still are very intrusive, and the bursts are still very dense and very... Maybe if you are a little weaker on the reading when you're playing this, you might not get as good of a score. Like, I definitely found myself playing this map, getting, I guess, like a very wide range depending on the day I played it. Like sometimes I'd get like below 99, sometimes I get like a 99.5. It really matters on how focused you're on that game. And that's honestly my biggest thing with this map, is that you really need the composure. And obviously you do need a lot of composure to play a map so well for 3 minutes. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that is definitely something to take into account whenever you are deciding whether you do want to pick this map or not, especially like some of the higher seeded teams or even some of the lower seeded teams. Whether you're the whole 3-man roster that you will be having is going to be able to play this map really, really well. But with that being said, that's going to be it for Break the Silence here.
Let's take a little breather because the next one is a little...
It's a little silly.
Yeah.
So this is Bakamitai by Map by Ska. It is an edit of it. We did edit some patterns, I believe. Especially, I think it was like... It
was like one pattern, yeah.
Right? Yeah, something like that. But I know this was like one of the first Ska maps that we chose. And honestly, I'm happy because
this is the first one.
Definitely one of the funniest. I mean,
yeah, this one.
There's a lot to say about this map, honestly. You know, we have, I guess, this less dense section in this intro. When I say less dense, I really don't mean that because we're already seeing it. It's very rolly. It has a many roles, has like streams all over the place, and we really see just that emphasized later on in the last like half of this map where it really gets intense.
Yeah, it does pick up in the back half for sure. So that's it pairs well with Break the Silence in that way. That Break the Silence is more front loaded. This is more back loaded. So that's something you want to balance out with your team. Which one you prefer, I suppose. And yeah, it's
This
quite
map,
silly, but it works. It works really well, and it's a huge step up from Celsius, and it makes a lot of sense to basically have this like as like a follow-up to Celsius, basically.
Yeah, and similar to Celsius, the map is also decently short, actually, being just under 2 minutes here. So, as we have been seeing on Celsius, multiple or like any kind of break on this map can cause a lot of problems for teams. Just maybe losing a point or two just because of that. But with that being said, that's it for that map, and I hope y'all enjoy this ska map. Since everyone enjoyed Hajime Tsushima show in round of 32, and I think everyone will enjoy this
ska
one too.
is back. Everyone loves ska. People, when we had that first map in round 32, everyone was like, "Oh, I love ska mapping. We brought it back. We brought it back." And look no further. More ska maps might come in the future, but we'll have to just wait and see. Let's move on to the next map. We got another FFR map, Nisei Mono. It's a cut and upgraded version. This is mapped by Pizza69. Let's take a look.
Yep, and this is a Pizza69 map. Pizza69 is a well-known MWC mapper, or not well-known MWC mapper per se, but a well-known mapper who has multiple maps in MWC at this point, most notably being what is it? I can't think of it. QE. And honestly, this is kind of similar to that.
Yeah, I would say. I don't know. I don't want to say this is similar to QE because with this operate, it might actually be a little harder. It's hard to say, but yeah, this is. I mean, this map gives a lot of breaks, honestly. So I feel like it should be fairly comfortable for a lot of teams. This jump stream should be. I mean, there's some like really difficult bursts in the middle of these, but I mean. Honestly, this might be one of the easier picks for the rice miscellaneous rice section.
Yeah, and here we see,
as I said.
Yeah, we see our actual break to where not like there's a bunch of easy notes to play, but you'll be able to see your opponent's score actually, which is a interesting thing that does happen. Especially for some players who may get a bit more nervous seeing that you may be up or you may be down or anything. So that is something to take into account. But we do obviously see the same patterning as we saw, I guess, in the earlier half. A lot of trills, a lot of really awkward, I guess, techish patterns.
Yeah, I mean, this map I think is mostly categorized by like very, very calm patterns that a lot of people will be able to hit. Interrupted by very brutal bursts and mini jacks and all sorts of things. So this is really what you gotta watch out for. And we are coming up on a section that is, I think, like 320 BPM dense stream. This part right here, a lot of our playtesters found some trouble with this part, especially because it does speed up a little bit within the bursts. So yeah, you get bursts in the streams, which is very, very awkward to hit. So you're gonna want to watch out for that. It's kind of like, in a way, like Love Song in Grand Finals, but much slower. So hopefully, yeah, that's the rice pool concluded. So that does mean we're getting into hybrids. We're getting Bloomin' by Guden. Well, let's just let this map speak for itself, really, for the beginner. It's 234 BPM. There's going to be a lot of these, I guess, Ellen density sections with a lot of these like bursts and such. There's a lot of 1/6 bursts. If you were a #1 Guden fan, as we hopefully all are, right?
I am.
You'll notice this is very similar to Metern from last year's quarterfinals, but it's a lot harder. It's also very similar to Ultima Thule from semifinals from last year. So you'll see a lot of those similarities pop up here and there. But this is, I would say, a lot more consistent in terms of difficulty.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and this is, I guess, a bit more speedy than some of the other hybrids that we will be seeing. Very similar to, as you did say, Ultima Thule, where it's like kind of stream-esque, and obviously the LN density is really, really hard in general.
Yeah, and honestly, it does kind of. I would say this is kind of backloaded, but it's hard to say. There's this speed up here, so you definitely have to watch out for, I guess, the timing on this section. It does get a little bit tricky if you're not prepared for it.
Yeah, and here we see, I guess, more Rice difficulty. We see these little mini jacks every so often, but it's really going to be, you're gonna have to be playing kind of every single pattern here in terms of like speed and like you'll be having to play jump stream, density LN, as well as just like streams in general here.
Yeah, honestly, it's. I mean, this is. I would say this is like the speedy, comfortable hybrid. So it's gonna be very like one up from the Bad For Me pick, but this does have like more bursts. It does have more like technical patterns. So you definitely are not really met with something as comfortable as Bad For Me here, but I think it does kind of line up, sort of. And so, yeah, that's Bloomin'. And I guess we should move on to Hybrid 2. This is Upload Your Mind, Download My Soul. I map this. This is going to be, I guess, your more Jackie hybrid. It's going to be a good follow-up to Alia Yakta S, I suppose. But this is a lot more heavy. This is very, very heavy. Good luck, I suppose. Yeah, thank you, I guess.
Yeah, this map is definitely quite a big step up from Ale Jakta X that we saw in the last map's pool. And really, as you did say, it's because of those jacks. They're really fast and also just like constantly in this map. Even if you don't really notice them at first, I feel like the more you play it, the more you like see them and the more you kind of get tripped up on them, honestly. So something that you may think about is maybe not play this map all too much or like back to back to back. Maybe play this subtly throughout the entire week, since you do have the entire week to play.
Yeah, and here you get like a LN sort of jack section. This is going to be kind of tricky, honestly, but it's easier than it looks, to be honest. But it is still, it's very easy to trip up this section particularly. You got these one-handed sort of jacks here.
Yeah, this map is only at 2 minutes and 19 seconds, so actually a decently short map, and there's kind of things constantly happening in this map. You do have the little break, the little intro at the start, but after that, it's really just constantly things happening. You will have to stay focused through it the entire time, and it
yeah,
may
you got
be
this
something...
ending mini jack section as well. This part is so difficult. Also, as I will point out, this is the first Camellia song that we've seen in this year's MWC, which is, I mean, we've lasted this long without Camellia, but I mean, we're just gonna have more and more Camellia from now on.
That's crazy to think about, actually. I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
No Camellia until now. I hope y'all are happy that y'all.
And also, this is the best album, don't at me. And yeah, we have got some jacks to close this map out, and that's pretty much it. With Upload Your Mind, Download My Soul cut version, that's Hybrid 2. And as we move on to Hybrid 3, let's take a look. CRZ Fola makes a reappearance, but this time, instead of the speedy hybrid, we got the technical hybrid. And I believe, I mean, for those of you who are familiar with Fola, their style really lends more towards technical hybrids in the first place, so I'm sure you'll look forward to this.
Yeah, this map is definitely very, very technical. I found myself finding a lot of struggles here, just because, as you are already seeing, these LNs are on really weird snappings and like releases and stuff. you can find yourself maybe finding a few 200s, 300s, or anything. And obviously, right here are the anchors. But I think most of all, you'll see yourself kind of struggling on these mini jacks that you see.
Yeah. Oh, these polyrhythms are so difficult. It is actually so difficult to act. It's really, really, really tricky. And just keeps going. It really just keeps going, and it's just like, oh my goodness, like. And we get some, yeah.
This map is 1 minute 49 seconds. However, it does not feel like that. Honestly, it is so brutal to play.
Whew. Yeah, this one it's just really rough overall. And this, oh my god, this ending section. You're gonna want to watch out for this ending section because it gets faster and faster until we get to 300 BPM, and we're about to hit it. Now.
Yeah, right here. And it's just so brutal to play,
it just
especially
keeps
if you're
going.
on a good run. It's just constant, and its nerves are coming at you consistently.
Yeah, and honestly, like, I would still say this is probably like in the middle of the pack in terms of difficulty. Maybe even the easiest hybrid. But I mean, it's debatable, honestly. I think out of the hybrids, I will kind of expect to see these picked more than round of 16. I think that if I had to guess, it's like very difficult to say really, because the technical hybrid I would expect to be more avoided, but this week we saw a lot of people picking Emig data, so we might be seeing a lot of more people picking this one. So I mean, it's really hard to tell, but that's enough about the hybrids. Let's get into the LNs. Alright, this is Astro Walkthrough, mapped by CRZ Kreiserling. For those of you who were not really a fan of the more streamy coordination picks, we have a pretty much straightforward LN Jack map for you. Although it is kind of like a mini timing hell or a mini like number 6 for those of you who are familiar with that love map. Yeah, I mean, somehow you've played this map quite a bit during playtesting. Do you have any comments on this?
Yeah, I definitely have. This was probably by far my favorite LN map to play, since it's really good just practice for basically any coordination pattern that you're thinking of. It really has every type of coordination that you want. It has kind of slow releases, it has these timing hell patterns as you are talking about, these anchors that you do see on one column with these little short long notes, but then also it, as we see right now, these slower releases, and even in the break, it's just a constant flurry of 200 bit, I want to say, where it is going to be really hard for players to get really good accuracy on this, and I'm excited to be able to see how well people are going to be able to play this. But I also feel like there's a high chance for people to be able to take misses on this, especially if they aren't too comfortable on these timing
Oh, absolutely agree. Some of these LNs, holding on to some of these LNs are really more difficult than they look. And honestly, like this 225 BPM, that's nothing to scoff at, but it is like there's very little 1/4 to worry about, so it really feels more like a 110 BPM map, if anything. And that makes it that much more difficult to, I guess, coordinate everything.
Yeah, and even this section right here, honestly, it's definitely probably the easiest
yeah, the
section of the
slowdown.
map. But it's still super hard to be able to get super good act on, because you kind of expect yourself to get as good of act as possible on any of the easy sections. But then immediately after, you get right back into it, and it's very difficult, honestly.
Yeah, and honestly, it's just like very straightforward. 2 minutes, 18 seconds of pretty much the same thing. Very consistent, but it doesn't last very long. So it's definitely something that a lot of teams, I'm sure, will be very comfortable with, especially as we've seen all those teams doing so well on the previous pool's LNs. So we can get into LN2, the density pick, Heaven's Fall by Guden. 200 BPM. Very dense jump streams. You'll see this compared to probably Two Eyes for You from last year, is very similar, except I think this has more just pure inverse rather than, I guess, like light inverse. So this one is, woo, quite rough, honestly. But we haven't even gotten to those sections yet. We're still in the break sections, but we'll see them coming up soon.
Yeah, I definitely think that this map, especially because the inverse that you are talking about, is significantly harder than not really significantly harder, but it's harder to get good accuracy on than Two Eyes for you. It's probably the same physicality as Two Eyes. However, really getting good accuracy on this map will be a challenge for a lot of players, especially if you aren't too fond of LN density like this.
Yeah, and I mean, it just keeps going. Like, it's almost 3 minutes of just pure like LN density. It does not like waver in any capacity.
Yeah, and I do want to emphasize how, as you have been seeing, there's all these 1/4 stream patterns, but also at the same time, there's, I guess, longer LNs that you will also have to be holding while doing those streams, and that can really cause some troubles for some players. With some accuracy, with some reading issues, or really anything that comes out of LN patterns.
Yeah, honestly, it's really that like whole like deal with LN density is that it's a very big consistency test for LN players. It's very straightforward, so it is the most accessible out of all the LNs for, I guess, teams that aren't really as focused on LNs. However, it does kind of, I guess, like come with that opportunity cost of like, well, if I do like if I'm not very strong on LNs, I'm gonna want to avoid this. Like, it is just, if it's all LNs, all density, just coming straight at you for 3 minutes, that is probably something I want to avoid if I'm not that good at LNs. And so that's gonna be, I guess, the pros and cons of these sorts of picks. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And also talking a bit about that inverse that you were talking about earlier on, as you did see it, it is just so difficult. The LNs get a bit longer, and that causes so much problem with your muscle memory, since you played it at the start and you were able to release them pretty early, but then at the end you have to just wait a slight bit longer, and that causes a lot of accuracy drops as a result.
Yeah, it gets really difficult after a certain BPM. Like, it just like keeps ramping up like higher and higher. And honestly, like, I'm really excited to see teams perform on this. Well, yeah, and we get into the LN wildcard 3. Torimaru Irini's. This is going to be a step up from Deorbit, but it is going to be significantly harder. But yeah, let's just let the map, I guess, take off. We already got some really difficult shields there, and I mean, you have any comment on this, Sanaki?
I mean, yeah, as you did say, Irini is right here. It's a difficult map. You talked about those shields, and they are present throughout most of the map, and honestly, I'm gonna say this right now, it used to be worse, so y'all are kind of lucky. This map is so difficult. It is so easy just to accidentally double tap on a pattern just because you thought it was a shield or something, or like really anything, and then it's also, there's a bit of a density layered on top of it, and you really just have to deal with so much at once. It can be a struggle. You do get the slight break though, just to interrupt everything and get yourself back into it if you did take a break or two.
Yeah, honestly, this one is just rough because it is just so dense, and like it only clocks in at like 195 BPM, which is like 5 BPM lower than the density pick, but it introduces so much more difficult patterns that I feel like this is gonna maybe get the same treatment as Deorbit, but hopefully not, because some of these patterns, I would say, they're like, while it is very diverse in terms of like the I guess interruptions of the main LN focus, right? So you get some of these like shields, you get some of these like bursts and such. I feel like it is a little bit more accessible compared to Deorbit, just because the other two maps are just so much more difficult.
Yeah, I feel like this is probably going to be the most likely ban for LNs in general. It's either this or maybe Astro Walkthrough. But I mean, we did see Deorbit last round, I feel, had the most bans in terms of LNs. But I feel like for hyper physical, or not hyper physical, like super good LN teams, you really do want to try to keep this in your protects as much as possible, because for people who aren't that great at LNs, it can be a really tough one to just play in general.
Yeah, but honestly, like, it is fairly short, 2 minutes 23, and I would say the OD is fairly forgiving, 7.5, so I don't know, I think that this is still going to be a little bit more accessible, but I feel like it might get a lot of bans, honestly. But yeah, we are going to get into the SVs now. So this is our SV mixed. This is TDEX sample ensemble. This one is interesting. It's like fairly sight readable until it's not. And I think you'll see what I mean.
Yeah, honestly, this is going to be my first time watching this SV specifically. I have seen the second one because it's very interesting, but this one, as you did say, it is mixed, and we already are seeing it. There's a lot of, I guess, normal patterns, no SV really at this intro, but as soon as that slowdown comes, we already see it, and I mean, this doesn't look all too hard, honestly. Maybe, definitely it'll take a few times to practice. Definitely.
Yeah. And honestly, like, it is fairly straightforward to learn. I would say, like, there's this section right here. Woo! That's definitely something you're gonna watch out for. And there's also those, like, kind of like swing notes in a way, like those kind of notes that don't really fall in the 1/4. This part is very interesting, very tricky to. You gotta really remember what you're reading, I guess. Like you see what you're supposed to play, but like when it does go to those stops, it does throw you off like quite a lot.
Yeah, those LN releases specifically actually look at least decently difficult, especially if you may have a Percy skin where it can be a bit hard to read, and as you were saying, it is difficult to be able to actually know what you're supposed to be hitting, because there are, yeah, sure, there's like, it's at the bottom, but there's also these stops that can cause some problems, especially if you like maybe look a bit too high up or something.
Yeah, honestly, SV maps, that is kind of a component that people don't really talk about. It's like you have to know where to look, right? And this part is like you really just gotta watch out for those. Okay, we got these like sort of like stop kind of LNs again. So we do kind of get the same gimmick. Same here as well. And yeah, this part is like, I mean, it's the same gimmick, but it is like very, it's like reading, but it's also you have to memorize where to read. So it is kind of, that does kind of lean into that mixed kind of identity that this chart has.
Yeah,
this definitely sample ensemble.
This definitely does seem significantly harder than SV1 from last week. So hopefully y'all will continue to play.
Yeah, a huge step up for sure.
Yeah. There's a lot to say about this map,
SV2.
honestly.
I don't know if there's a lot to say. I feel like you say a lot of things about the one thing in this chart, and then that's it, right?
Yeah, I guess that is true.
Woo!
So I guess
mean, you can see what the gimmick is, but it is the gimmick.
But it honestly, at first when I saw this map, I'm like, what is this hit to? And then I thought about it for like a solid 5 seconds, and I'm like, there's no way it's hit to the audio, to the song, like the lyrics. It's the SV is the girl singing.
Yeah, you're just following the vocals. That's what this is. You're following the melody. You're following the vocals.
Yeah, it is honestly really interesting to see, and I'm hoping that people actually play this because I want to see how good scores people can actually get after practicing this for a long time, especially.
Honestly, I think the biggest problem for teams coming into this is like sometimes you just forget what the gimmick is, and then you mess up. It's just how it is, and like especially with certain patterns, I think have like really weird like hand balance kind of, and you do get these break sections that are a little bit more friendly, and it's less memo, but it does introduce the mini jacks and the slow jam here. So you do get kind of a break, but you do have to watch out for those those bumps.
Yeah, I do want to say that this map is 3 minutes long. However, there really isn't all too much to the map generally. There is the little gimmick of it being to the music, and then also like the slowdowns that happens every so often. But besides that, it should be easy to practice, I guess.
Yeah, I would say like easy to practice, but it's quite hard to get down like at first, and then once you like learn what the gimmick is, like once you get used to it, it does feel like better. I think certain patterns like the two-handed things that we do see, like right here, that does kind of trip you up a little bit because it's like, you just read it and you feel like it should all be like the same rhythm, but it's not.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't know what to say. This is the NSV map of all time, and they just get harder at some point. They just get too hard.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is still pretty simple. Like maybe it's definitely harder to act, but it's simple to learn. So I will say like this does feel like it's fitting in quarterfinals. But yeah, that is SV2. That is the last remaining pick before the tiebreaker. And let's take a breather and yeah, let's get right into it.
Yeah.
And we have Camellia featuring Ninomai Inanis, Drenched in Air. This one's rough. It's
this
rough.
Is my favorite tiebreaker personally. No bias though.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one is
indeed
so rough. It is actually so difficult, honestly. I don't know. This map is really all over the place. It used to be a bit worse. It got changed a bit, but it still is super difficult. There are so many just like different patterns all over the place. The density, as we do just see right there, it is so fast, and then also the right sections. Like it is very technical to be able to play.
Yeah, this map is super rough, and honestly, it's like it's not your typical tiebreaker, that's for sure. It doesn't like throw like individual kinds of things at you. It's more like everything kind of like meshed together into like Play-Doh and like just thrown at you. And that's just how it feels. It feels like you're drowning in every single pattern at the same time, basically. And I guess that is sort of fitting.
Yeah, some would say you're drowning in rice or noodles.
Yeah. Honestly, like it is, like it just throws everything at you. It really does.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the main thing that I had trouble with specifically was really a bunch of the rice patterning. I think it's just because I'm not as great at rice as in general, and it can be something that a bunch of LN players do have trouble with, to where like the rice in general is really difficult. But I feel like the same could be said for the other way around, where rice players have trouble with the LNs.
I feel like everyone could choke this. Everyone could choke this. This is the kind of map that like rice players will go into it and be like, what are these LNs? And then LN players are gonna go into it and be like, what are these like bursts? What are these like mini jacks? Like it's just like no one is gonna have no one's gonna cruise through this. Everyone is going to drown. And that is where we're at in quarterfinals. This is quarterfinals.
Yeah. As we're in the break right now, I do want to add that this is actually the first Hololive song in in 4-digit Mania. No.
What?
Wait, in Mania World Cup. It is the first Hololive song.
No.
Right?
7K had a lot of Hololive songs
4K
in
Mania World
2022. Yeah, 4K.
Yeah. But now we're getting into the actual ending, where it gets even harder somehow than the intro, which is honestly, the intro's already hard enough, so how do you even do that?
Yeah, this second half does get harder. It's kind of crazy how that happens. But we do get kind of like a more rice section, but it doesn't get interrupted by LNs. Like, you know, again, it's not really like a individual section of rice, individual section of LN. This really just, everything just comes straight, like it's like a big wave of of patterns, just all of the patterns. It's like a hurricane or a tsunami, you know. That's what this map
like
really
you'll
feels
be
like.
drenched in air. Yeah, I found myself really enjoying this tiebreaker, even though it's so difficult. It's really easy to be able to play this consistently over and over again, just because everything really flows easily. It's like a river, kinda.
Yeah, honestly, like, it's just like... We do get this very interesting, like, back and forth section here. This, like, very interesting structure of, like, 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, it does kind of feel like a wave, in a way. Very interesting stuff. But yeah, I mean, the map doesn't really let up. This part is probably the hardest part, I would say. Like, upcoming, this last section is probably, yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Where it, like, I guess builds up a bit more, and it's especially it being at the end where you're like the most nervous. Even if you're on like a 99% run, it can still easily trip you up on like anything basically. And honestly, I'm not sure whether people will be getting many FCs.
Yeah, I don't really expect to see an FC, but hey, we said the same thing about Of Ambrosia, and we did see an FC this weekend.
That is
so
true.
Who knows?
That is true.
Who knows, really?
Maybe some of these players are a bit too good. They're too consistent.
Yeah. Who knows? And yeah, I mean, that's that. That's the quarterfinals map pool, and we hope you're looking forward to practice, and don't forget to practice, of course. All the same detailed as previous weeks, right? Map pool is out on the Discord already, and it will be out on the wiki soon. Schedules will be figured out, and I'm sure everyone will be aware of what's happening. And yeah, so I mean, what else is there to say except good luck, right?
Yeah, definitely good luck to all the players who are still in the tournament. We will have we have actually started doing elimination rounds this week technically, so more teams will be eliminated next week, and there's so many, once again, so many good matchups coming up. Be sure to tune in next week as soon as you can, and the schedule should be up at some point for viewers, and then schedules for players will be up very, very soon. So be sure to look at that, and I don't have anything else to say. To you?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all we have to say, and yeah, thank you so much.
Alright, bye!
Bye!